It's been hard in America. It's been tough feeling sad. It's been hard in America. I never thought it'd get so bad. I wish that I had a big jet plane, fly the tears away. Maybe I'd find a river so wide and drift away all of the pain. But it seems there's more to do. There's more to love we've yet to find. Oh yeah, it's true, we may stumble through, but all we have is precious time.
Hello, Folk and Flick. How are you today? I'm fine. I'm going to be out and about again in the fine weather. Another friend of mine's going to visit soon on a motorcycle. He drove a BMW from Switzerland across Europe down through Spain, and he's going to pop by here. So I'm jealous. What an adventure riding a Beamer across Europe. It just seems like a lot of fun to me, touring on a bike. I was thinking today, you know, America is so rich. I mean, that country can print money without a problem because the dollar's the dollar, and because America's America, Jamie Dimon America, geographical America, demographical America, psychographical America. It's just so freaking rich. There's so many rich people in America, so many rich corporations. They run global capital, Americans and American corporations. And really, America runs the world. And yet, there are so many really run down and dilapidated and ruined places in the United States, and way too many poor people for a rich country, in my humble opinion. But be that as it may, the ability to throw resources and cash and weapons at the war in Ukraine is proving to be very, at least at the moment, effective at pushing back Russia's dastardly gains. We don't know how that's going to play out. Could be the end of the world. It's possible. Come on. Do the probabilities. You don't know, but come on. It's possible. It never ceases to amaze me at how filthy, powerful, and rich the United States of New Miracles is. And it's funny, I think they just find their internal squabbles and the culture wars just too entertaining and exciting. You know, that book I'm reading, Between Us, is very interesting because our emotional habits, our thought habits, our culture is such a new thing. I mean, Calvinist America would never have emoted like we do or acted the way we do. But we're lucky in a way because we have all this entertainment, all of these fun things that we can take for granted. And yet the lifestyle and the emotional style, culture of the United States, it could bring down the world for many, many, many reasons, not just nuclear war. But at some point, maybe we will all be reduced to simpler lives, depending on how things play out in a lot of aspects of how we run the world today, but whatever. I like history. When I travel, I like to go places and see where people used to live, You know, this is where Albert Camus did something, or this is where Karl Marx stayed, or Lenin or Trotsky or any other person that's a good guy, Ho Chi Minh, Che Guevara, the demonically possessed great men of history. But, you know, whatever. I mean, anything. Some, you know, Emerson or, you know, John Lennon or whatever. And sometimes they put up statues near these places so that people know that, oh, you know, this is the place where Lenin lived in Finland when it was, you know, back in the day. So now they're taking down the statues again. So Soviet-era statues are going away. I have mixed feelings about that. I don't like Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin. I don't like any of them. I'd like to hit Lenin in the stomach with a baseball bat. And I'd like to waterboard Trotsky. I mean, these people, you can only imagine at how arrogant and what kind of bullies they were. And just the kind of filthy, overly enthusiastic and brazen and, you know, maniacal their thinking was. And I can't imagine being in a community like that. Of course, I didn't grow up in the 19th century, so what do I know? But it must have been such a different, well, I've read biographies of all these people. And, you know, growing up in Ukraine in the 19th century on a farm, it's very different. Being a kulak or whatever is a lot different from, you know, going to Cinderella City in Denver and trying to meet girls when you're 14 years old. So anyway, they wanted to play the game. They wanted to be revolutionaries, and they killed and destroyed lots of people in order to do it, and they destroyed their rivals, and they made proclamations and talked all manner of BS. And in their mind, they thought they were really great guys, you know, really important people. And people worshiped them. I'm just not much into worshiping those kind of people, and I don't care if they're, you know, Ronnie Reagan or Margaret Thatcher or Truss, you know, all these pretenders who think that they're players and that they're making a big difference in life, and really they're just wrecking things. And then while they're wrecking things, their fans think they're really cool, and then years later, people have to pick up the pieces and try to fix what they wrecked, and then, you know, the cycle continues again and again and again. So we'll see what the conservative government in, you know, Berlusconi 3.6 in Italy does. Those people over there, are they going to fix everything? Is Italy going to be happy? Between Us is also interesting. They have a chapter on happiness, the emotion of happiness and how that translates across cultures, and anger, which is fascinating. Very interesting chapters. Having lived in China and Japan and spent a lot of time in Thailand and Singapore and lived in Hong Kong and so on, bit by bit you do get socialized into different ways of expressing your emotions and your thoughts and just behavior in general, because you're trying to fit in to the culture and you're learning through observation. It's outside in. You're in a different environment, you're being exposed to different behaviors, and you're picking up on it. It doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50, or 60. It's going to have an effect on you. So that's quite interesting and fun. Yes, so take down the statues, erase the history. Do you think you're going to protect yourself from what comes next? Because it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be different, of course, but in general, we're people and we're going to make the same mistakes. So once Russia is defeated and Putin is dead, and they enact some reforms in Russia, how do you think those reforms are going to play out? And who do you think is going to be pushing for certain kinds of reforms? In the past, has the UK and the United States tried to influence events in Russia? Yeah, going way before the revolution and the Civil War, you know? And it's going to be the same thing. It happened when Yeltsin was there. It happened when Putin took power. And America's going to be trying to influence events in Russia. But we just can't seem to make good partners with one another, you know? You're different, you're not like me, but we can be good global partners in certain ways to achieve goals that are important to a global civilization, which is what we live in and what we've lived in for a long, long time. So even though I don't like these people, like if I were hanging out with Trotsky, I would be annoyed. If I were hanging out with Che Guevara, I think I'd be annoyed. If I were hanging out with Ernest Hemingway, I think, you know, my liver would have exploded already because I like to drink. But anyway, you know, the arrogance, the madness of these people and what they do, and just, you know, using power and, you know, your power coming from the threat of violence and the use of violence, really destructive behaviors, all in service of a fantasy, of an illusion, of an ideology, you know, and you think this one state of affairs, this idea in your mind, is going to be the state of affairs forever and ever, and that you could destroy the whole world to preserve it, and it doesn't even exist except in your mind. I'm not trying to be postmodern. There are systems out there. Neoliberalism is a thing, and there are various kinds of democracies that are more or less democratic, but what they're really fighting for is profits, power, their career. So in that sense, I am a Machiavellian. But it's not that simple either, because there are many, many ways to organize the world, and there are many cultures in this world, and many potential cultures that could arise in the future. So after we've destroyed our habitat, and there's 5,000 of us left in the Arctic somewhere, and we're clawing our way back during, what, hundreds of thousands of years in a radically different climate. Who knows what kind of culture is going to come from that, and how long it will last. And we still have to recognize that Lenin's dead, Trotsky's dead, Stalin's dead, Hitler's dead, Hemingway's dead, Simone de Beauvoir is dead, John Lennon's dead. All of us just do our crappy shit, try to think we're cool, especially weird people from America. We have to be proud, we have to be assertive, we have to be great, we have to accomplish stuff, we have to be self-actualized, and all that stuff. We can't just relax, you know? So we fight to get all this stuff, and then we get cancer and die. We get hit by a truck. We fall off our bicycle and break our neck. And, you know, is it meaningful? Sure, everything's meaningful because we're human beings. We're meaning-making animals. But at the end of the day, it all goes away. Unless you're going to heaven and all that kind of stuff, which is great, or you're going to be reborn as a king in your next life, which is wonderful. Or if you're going to just become star stuff, which is fantastic. It all fades away. So all of these wonderful little things that Putin's trying to achieve, and that Blinken and Biden and Trump, are thinking they want to do is just a show. Whether they know it or not, whether they wake up every morning and say, I'm the ringmaster, let's start the show, you know. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Beginning, middle, and end. That's how it all goes. And it just bugs me that we worship these bullies and these idiots, and we give them more power, agency, and more intelligence. We respect them too much. We really should be educating ourselves all the time so we can question them more and hold their feet to the fire. And, there's nothing in this world that's going to be any good without opposition and without a churning of elites. So I'm taking from Burnham's book again. Quack! I'm a parrot. So yeah, people can go up, people can go down. People have opportunity. People have the possibility of achieving something. People have the chance to do what they want to do. They have some freedom, some liberty, some license within the system to organize and affect things. And without this, without freedom, there's just no chance that you can hold any of these goofballs accountable. At the end of the day, it's the most brutal, violent bastard that runs the show. And if you get out of line, you're dead. So I do agree with critics of Curtis Yarvin and people like that once their dictator gets into power, the first thing he's going to do is kill Curtis, because he doesn't want Curtis's annoying ideas gumming up what he has to do. So you're the best friend court jester one day, and you're in the fucking dungeon the next day getting tortured. And we've seen that over and over again throughout history. So the fall of man, back in the Indus Valley, but back in ancient, Iraq area, Mesopotamia, we domesticated grains, and animals. We settled, we started kingdoms, we started religions, we started all kinds of new stuff. And now, we ate from the tree. We ate the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And for all those 8,000 to 10,000, 8,000, let's say, years, we've been like that. And we've had an incredible impact on nature, on the environment, on each other, all throughout those millennia. And now it's just even more intense, the effect we can have if we have a limited nuclear war, or if we have a full-out nuclear war, or if we just keep saying that, we've got to produce more stuff, be good consumers, work our asses off so we can buy more stuff. And we put all the stuff in a landfill, and then later on, future generations can mine the landfill to get trace minerals and plastics and materials that they need to make something. Or to maintain something, that 5,000 people that make it, to the next 100 years. Or we could figure out a different way of doing things. Of course, I know that's not going to happen, because all of these tough guys, that the new Margaret Thatcher has to believe that she's really that good. Now, if I were hanging out talking to her, I wouldn't say, what a nicely dressed, well-mannered, smart woman she is. I'd be annoyed. I'd be terribly annoyed, and I'd be having all these bizarre, psychopathic fantasies. I've never been arrested. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a bad guy. But one does have fantasies when one is annoyed as hell about people. But in general, here where I live, people are nice. I like this culture of simpatico, sympathy and connection. I like the Latin thing. It's beautiful. And people here are decent people. I like them. I've always liked being in countries where I didn't have to be so American, because being American annoys me. I annoy myself. and have for years. So let's get that straight. Anyway, there you have it. That's what I'm thinking about today. America's super rich. It can print as much money as it wants for anything it wants to do. There is no limit to the amount of resources we can throw at Russia, regardless of the risk or the outcomes. Because I guarantee you in 20 years from now, it's not going to be this kumbaya thing either, where America has nothing but Cinderella City shopping malls across its vast territory, and it has the emotive expressions and the culture of Americans. Some people just don't want to be Americans. So you can be partners with the Celestials, Chinese people. Come on, I'm kidding. And recognize that they come from a different culture and still do good things together, right? Have you ever gone to school and had some friends from another country that you appreciated just because they were different? I don't know. Anyway, it's really entertaining. We live in an entertaining era. We're so fortunate. So go out, learn, live, love, and be entertained. William T. out.